If this is the first time you've heard about this paint color, you can thank me by clicking that like button, because Railings by Farrow Ball is absolutely gorgeous, it's popular, and quite possibly one of my favorite off-black paint colors on the entire market. So what makes this color so special, and what are some ways that you can use it inside your home? Today's all about giving you some ideas on color pairing options, but I'm also going to go through some details on what you can expect from Railings specifically. I think the obvious thing that you can probably see is it's a dark paint color. We don't necessarily know how dark it is, but it's definitely not white. Quite the opposite, actually. When we go onto Farrow Ball's website, we can see that they label it as part of the blue paint color family. And that may give us a little hint on its undertone, being a cooler color, but that coolness is extremely subtle for the most part. And the main feature you're getting here is a nearly black paint color. Every single paint color out there has a light reflectance value, whether they advertise it or not, from 0 to 100, which tells us how much light it reflects or doesn't reflect in this case. And if I were to guess, Railings probably only reflects maybe 6 or 7% of the light that hits it, and that makes it extremely dark looking in person. Just to give you some context, some of the darkest black paint colors that I've seen are usually around a 2, 3, or a 4 LRV, so Railings isn't too far off in that case. Using this color is going to be very dramatic in the majority of cases, just based on its depth alone. You're not likely going to see it being used throughout entire rooms, especially if your home tends to be more open concept, but in situations like accent walls, really dark trim, and woodwork, especially doors, Railings would be a little more suited for those use cases. And just to touch on exterior colors too, Railings and colors like it are suitable for both front doors and garage doors. Just keep in mind, it does have that slight blue undertone, and direct or even indirect sunlight has a tendency to really accentuate any blueness or coolness within a color, because even though the sun looks like a big ball of yellow, it's actually cool light that it emits. One of my favorite things to do on this channel is put together a little color palette based around the main color in question, which in this case is Railings. So I have 3 paint colors that are acting as color pairings for perhaps other rooms in your home or even in the same space with Railings. And then I'll finish up with 2 trim color options that you can use on baseboards and woodwork, all that good stuff. Starting with Ammonite, which is a slightly understated taupey gray color. And I really added this color as the light neutral paint option. I think Railings is so potent on its own that having something a lot more easygoing like Ammonite really does the trick here. I do see it more as a taupey color because it doesn't have a clear yellow beige warmth to it, so I wouldn't call it grayish. It's almost like a warm gray-brown type of coloration that makes it very muted and easygoing. I also love how it contrasts with Railings. So even though they're technically pretty neutral together, that huge shift in darkness is really noticeable. Oxford Stone is my second color, and it's a bit darker than Ammonite. It also has way more warmth. It's very, very noticeable with this kind of warm, medium muted beige. It's sort of the opposite end of taupe, where some colors may start with a base of gray and then have a touch of brown mixed in. This is the opposite, where you have that brown aspect that's muted slightly with a little bit of gray. And this gives you 2 things: a warmer color overall to work with in this palette, and also a mid-tone that is going to work better in those areas that maybe get a lot of light and you need a little more deliberate coloration on your walls. The third pairing is a darker color, but it looks pretty pale compared to something like Railings. It's called Card Room Green. This is still an offshoot of those relatively neutral colors we've started with, because rather than a deep forest green or an emerald color, Card Room Green is a dark gray green that is sturdy feeling, yet soft with its toned down hue. There are situations where it can feel a bit cooler than you might expect, much like Railings. So that's why I think they fit together in a really nice way. For trim colors, I really like Schoolhouse White as a light alternative here. This doesn't necessarily mean you gotta pick Schoolhouse White on your baseboards with Railings on your walls, but within this overall entire palette, this is probably my favorite light trim color to go with that isn't just a basic all-white choice, like the stark sterile white that Farrow Ball makes. My dark trim choice is the lighter cousin of Railings called Downpipe, and this color gives you a very very subtle shift in brightness, which is just enough in my opinion. I really like the idea of downpipe on the baseboards and frames, and then railings as the door color. So you have this very slightly lighter frame around your door panels. And then something like Ammonite could be the actual wall color. So you're using 3 distinct colors, but it's not going to be too busy looking, yet you're still gonna have very much a dramatic look with that dark woodwork. Here's the palette all together. Let me know what you think. And we got some more Farrow Ball right this way. Got some bass in my voice today, eh? Nice.